Well, you know, if there is one word that is used commonly today, it is digital, right? I'm not sure how many millions of times we would hear the word digital being talked about. But before I get into the nitty-gritties and nuts and bolts of what digital is all about, I would like to get you into some past era. Just about 3-4 decades ago, you would recall we used to have a TV, which used to be a wooden box and a tube inside, right? And it has some 12 channels that the maximum it could go up to. And only one channel initially, which was Doordarshan. And of course, it moved to DD1 and DD2 later on. And life used to be very simple, right? Very scheduled programs at what time in the morning, during the day, during the evening, and I think by 11 or 12, it will be over. We knew exactly what time the news is going to be, I think 7:30 if I recall, right? Sunday evenings used to be fun watching movies at exactly sharp, I think 6 if I'm not wrong. And programs about agriculture, programs about Chitrahar, I'm sure all of us would recall that, right? Sometimes it's good to go back the memory lane and look at how far we have come. Now, eventually what happened, we thought 2 channels in that TV set-top box, TV box, and 2 channels going on. And then there came the era of CD cable. Remember that? We had a coaxial cable running into our homes, and wow, all of a sudden we could see about 50 channels, 60 channels coming up. And we moved from black and white to color. We moved from more than 12 channels, and the limitation was how many channels can you have, right? And the quality of some channels was good, some was not so good, but still, life was still okay. And then suddenly came the disruption, which was the set-top box, right? And even the cable operators had to be mandated to use a set-top box, right? And we kind of continue to move along with that journey. And eventually, we have now dish TVs all over the place, right? And incidentally, the channel is irrelevant now. Even though your TV unit has about 500 channels, it does not matter because what matters is how many channels can the set-top box bring it to you. And then we move to the high definition, right? The TV sets also kept on getting thinner and thinner and better, and with the technology advancements. And ladies and gentlemen, what you can do today now is you can replicate your mobiles on the TV unit. You can mirror what you see on the mobiles on the TV unit, right? All of you with me? Now look at the change we have witnessed in just about 3 to 4 decades. And the fact is we got driven with every single change that happened. Whether you liked it or not, whether you were able to afford that technology or not, whether it was available in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities or not, but this change is inevitable for all of us, everybody. And today, you go to the remotest part of the country with a simple dish installed there. And remember the earlier antenna which used to be there on top of our roofs, and a slight bit of wind would cause the disruption, we could not see the images on the TV. Imagine the change, right? So the point I'm trying to make is this change is going to be here. Like Mr. Ajay talked about that this is all about change, this is exactly what it is. So the sooner we accept it, embrace it, the better it is for all of us. Now, the reason I gave you this example was because TV is close to our hearts. We can immediately connect to it. But when it comes to our organizational environment, things are different, right? That's when the situation moves from a personal space to an official space, right? And this is Dell's point of view. that every organization needs to be digital organization powered by data running in a multi-cloud world. I will very quickly touch upon why I'm saying what I'm saying, but this is what it is. The pace of the change, the pace of the transformation is so fast that the percentage of change is also increasing every year. And I won't be wrong in saying that we are at the slowest pace of change as we speak today. Because tomorrow is going to be even faster. You all agree? Yeah? Any sphere of our lives, while all of us represent government in a way or other, but any sphere of our lives is going to be touched with this change. When we look at this change from an organizational standpoint, the question is, no two organizations are at the same level. Every organization has different scale, and somewhere you have to put those thresholds into how do you measure change? How do you measure digital transformation? Then only you'll be able to know where do we stand. Am I good? Am I not so good? Am I already at a leadership stage? Or what is the path for me to grow as I move forward in this transformation journey? Because as the word signifies itself, there's no end to it, it's a journey. Transformation is a journey, right? So we did a survey along with Intel, which was across certain 100,000 customers, to figure out where are organizations today with respect to each of these areas. While if you see over here, we are glad to see that from 2016 to 2018, the organizations have moved, and especially in the space which is the second last one, which is from 14 to 23%, is where companies have moved, organizations have moved. This includes government, by the way, also. That there is a significant move in that bracket. But are we saying that we have attained nirvana on this front? The answer is no. Right? At the same time, I think it's important to figure out what are the barriers that are holding us to attain that ultimate journey of getting this transformation done. Now, all of us know that time is definitely going to be a limitation. How much more can you do in how much time is going to be always a point of question. And like I said, because it is a journey, it has to go on with the passage of time that we all have. Skills. A lot of government forums where I am part of, it is a point of discussion in terms of how do we uplift the skill. You may develop the best of apps, but the point is, are there consumers or users who understand how to use those apps, right? So what do we do to uplift the skill development of the users, the consumers who are the final beneficiaries of this, like farmers in the erstwhile case? Are they aware that there are pulses going to be available to them at certain specific rates, right? At the same time, funds is always and always going to be whatever more you get, it's always going to be less. There were a lot of areas where there were boot models being worked out, government-corporate relationship being jointly looked at in terms of what is the service model that we can offer. Can we offer infrastructure as a service, for instance? And it can be annuated over a period of time, right? And lastly, but not the least, is what is the element of risk involved? Because you're dealing with public, you're dealing with people. You're dealing with people in terms of their actual live, it could be their jobs, it could be their livelihood, it could be their transactions, it could be anything. So one has to always be sure of the element of risk and quantify that, whether it is doable or not, right? Now, like I said earlier, there's always a threshold that we wanted to figure out. How do you bucketize the various stages of digitization, right? So from that standpoint, if you look at the first and foremost bucket that we looked at, is the IT transformation. Again, back to the point that Honorable Minister made and Mr. Abhay made, is that technology is going to be powering the dreams into reality. any thought that we can fathom today could be brought into reality by virtue of technology. So from that standpoint, if we dwell a bit more into this, what does this literally mean? Technology is not about just making a data center. It's about the modern infrastructure which has to keep on replenishing as and when it gets outdated. I believe government has from a hardware standpoint, schedule of refreshing every 7 years or maybe 8 years. Is that good enough? It would have been good enough maybe 10 years before, but is it good today? Right? Likewise, are we running the modern operations depending on the quantum and size and scale that we're dealing with today? Right? Are we having enough latest services delivery models being adapted for what we are trying to do to bring it quickly to the market? Like we know, by the time you bring it to the market, you're already behind. And more importantly so, because in India we have seen every state is at a different level of digitization. Rajasthan has been at the forefront of various initiatives, but there are other states also. AP, for instance, Telangana, for instance, Karnataka, for instance, they are also in that league. But at the same time, IT transformation is going to be critical because it will bring in speed, efficiency, scale, and ultimately cost effectiveness. And nothing beats the automation, because the more you put automation in place, as a simple example could be the best of app I can have on my mobile, but if I'm not able to open that in the next minute, my interest level will drop. Right? So the app has to actually open up so fast that my concentration on what I'm supposed to do on that has to be there. We hope, all of us hope that with 5G now coming in, things are going to be a lot more better. But yes, that's what it is. Now, as we move forward, the next element that I briefly touched upon earlier is on the skill front, workforce transformation. If you ask me, in government, this is one of the core areas that needs to be looked into. End of the day, as we say, employees come first. Are we empowering our employees enough in adoption of the latest technologies? Are we giving them enough latest tools and technologies to be utilized and leveraged and be aware, for them to be themselves in terms of what more and what else they can do? Right? So the skill development has to be a consistent job. It has to be a consistent effort. As we move forward, security is going to be a very, very crucial issue. Even today, the example I gave you earlier of connected TVs, we can connect our TVs on Wi-Fi. And with Netflixes of the world and YouTubes of the world that you can open through a TV, is your network secure enough? While we have authentications that are being enabled at various levels, but please understand, you are allowing a user to log in the system via a mobile device, right? And it can be critical. It can be extremely critical. So the more automation we bring in, the more technology we bring in, while we are bringing in complexity also, but the point is it safe? Is it secure? Again, you're dealing with database of so many people. And there were certain questions earlier. I hope and I wish that things are well controlled. As we move forward, the last important tenet of the digital transformation is the application transformation. I've seen NIC being the sport partner here. I'm a big fan of NIC. Honestly, if I can say, the true digitization of India has actually been initiated and propagated by NIC. The kind of capability that NIC has built over a period of time is mind-boggling. Absolutely superb. And when you look at the quantum of work that they've done in center, in states, dealing with so many kind of databases, the applications that they work on is worth accepting that fact. At the same time, when we look at the applications that all the organizations today use, for various service deliveries that are there in place, be it on the citizen services front, or any of the government-to-government applications that are today running. My sense is If I'm applying for a passport today, if I'm applying for a passport renewal today, why should I give even a single document? I have an Aadhaar card. I have an e-locker where all my authenticated certificates are there. Why is it that I should go physically to the passport office? While there are huge changes that have happened in Passport Seva also, you get passport renewed today in Tatkal probably in 3 days, right? And you get SMS alerts that it is in progress, it's got printed, it's going to be delivered, all that is fine. But the question is, if you are talking of literally paperless office, and with so much amount of work that we have done in this phase of creating e-lockers and authentications and UID, Aadhaar, and so on and so forth, I should not be supposed to give even a single document. So there is some scope, given the complexity of our country, between the center and the state, and the number of languages we have, right, and the literacy rates that we have varying from one state to the other. There is still a scope. There is still a scope. But fundamentally, if you look at it, these 4 tenets that I spoke about are eventually going to enable all of us, if there are virtualized environments that are run. One is where you have a physical hardware on which you are running the stuff. Are we maximizing that? I will give a very, again, small example. All of us would know about the network switches, right? Now, traditionally, depending on the number of ports in that switch is what your limitation is. If there is a 64-port switch, you're limited to 64 ports. You can't go more than that. With today's software-defined network, that 64 ports can turn into multiples of ports. So the relevance of a hardware-specific limitation is gone. Today we have software-enabled storage, which allows the data to be secure, can be retrieved, can be stored in multiple arrays. For instance, again, a very small example. If I send a mail to one of you, and that mail is about a 1 MB mail, the same gets forwarded to 10 people, gets stored as 10 MB, gets again forwarded, becomes 100 MB. The intelligence today that we have in our storage systems is where it gets stored only as 1 MB. Even if you make changes, those changes are stored separately. So what it does is it reduces the overall quantum of storage requirements, which is growing in a very, very big way. Now, I have been given a hint that the time is running out, but I'm going to quickly talk about, in a nutshell, sorry, this is slightly slow. Yeah, the path towards digital leadership. Like I said earlier, what is it that will entail you to be called as a digital leadership in your respective organizations? It is when your IT, your skill workforce, your security, and your application. When all these 4 are transformed is when you can attain nirvana. And you can say that we are done. We have done the best of everything, and now we are at the leadership position. And the same is the Dell's point of view regarding digital transformation, because it covers people, it covers processes, and it covers technologies. Lastly, I have still some 30 seconds. Dell today in India is an organization which is hosting about 25,000 people. As part of Dell Technologies umbrella, there are 7 companies which are part of Dell Technologies, right from the erstwhile Dell, which is laptops, desktops, to Dell EMC about storage, security, to RSA, which is into the security domain, Secureware, Pivotal, which helps on the data exchange on multiple hybrid clouds, to the Virtual Stream and VMware. Now, with this portfolio, I think we are best suited to work with you and ensure that the real transformation happens. So with that, I come to the end of my session. Thank you so much, and wishing you all the very best. Thank you.